What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? I am Joey Womack, founder, CEO of Goodie Nation. Welcome you all back for another dope episode of Prequel, Origin Stories and Inflection Points. Today I have a few more special guests, another set of recipients from the Google for Startups Black Founders Fund 3, and you're in for an absolute treat today as they tell their origin stories, their stories about how they came to be. Here's why it's important. At Goodie Nation, we believe that relationships matter in business, and we're focused on closing what we call the relationship gap. Now, this is the lack of connection between founders and influential people, particularly in tech. When they don't have a connection, it means they have lack of access to capital, but it also means they have lack of access to things like talent to hire, customers and users, potential partners, people to tell their stories, which all leads to higher levels of stress and increased likelihood of them not realizing their potential. And we don't want that, right? And what we found is that diverse founders, so Black, Latinx, and women, and also social entrepreneurs from all backgrounds, typically experience the relationship gap at a larger clip than their counterparts. So at Goodie Nation, we designed a number of things, including this podcast, to help tell the stories and close that gap so that these dope founders can reach their potential. So what you'll hear today are short stories from a few founders, really from all over the country. And at the end, I'll come back with an ask, a simple ask of you to support. But we'll talk about that later. Let's really get into the founders and their stories. We're going to do some quick intros before we hear from all of them in kind of in an in-depth manner. So first, I'll kick it over to Josh for a quick intro. So name, company, quick description about the company and where you're based out of.
How's it going? Thanks, Joey. I appreciate the opportunity. So I'm Josh Dzime-Assison. I'm based out of Silver Spring, Maryland, right in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm the CMO and co-founder of a startup called Vendoo. What we do is we create a software for online resellers, people that manage sales businesses on eBay, Etsy, Poshmark, and we currently have 10 platforms on our software. And we allow them to just easily manage selling thousands of items across these different sites. So we provide them with features like data analytics, inventory management, and easy cross-posting so that they can do a lot of the tedious tasks in a fraction of the time. So our company is currently growing. We launched in about 2020, January of 2020, and we've been growing for the past few years. So we're in a good spot at this moment, and we're happy to be a part of this program.
Awesome. Kick it over to AJ.
My name is AJ Joyner. I'm based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I'm the founder of a software platform. It's called Blooksy. And the Blooksy's, the premise is we want to help writers become authors and write your manuscript using artificial intelligence. We also help people who are in the academia space write their academic articles, literature reviews, and things like that. We're also, for people who want to write white papers and things like that, they can also use our AI to write that. We have some interesting use cases that are starting to pop up in the K-12 space. So we're working with 3 schools now that want to help their students become authors. So working with a lot of people who want to write, books, manuscripts, ebooks, not manuscripts. Mr. Joey, can we start this part over?
Well, this is live and go over there. Keep on going. It's all good. We get it.
Oh, well, okay. So if you want to write a book, you want to write an ebook, you want to write a white paper, or you want to just create content, you can use Blooksy.
There it is. Kick it over to Toby.
Yeah, hey all. My name is Toby Egbuna. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Chezie. Our vision at Chezie is to create the most inclusive workplaces on earth. We do that by reimagining what's possible with these internal communities that over 50,000 companies globally already have called employee resource groups. So we provide them with a platform for their employees to log in and engage with the different ERGs and join seamlessly and easily. We give diversity and inclusion managers all the data that they need about the ERGs to track things like engagement and budget and membership and everything that goes into the day-to-day operations of ERGs. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia, and really excited to be part of the Google for Black Founders program.
Awesome. Anthony. Oh, and I think you're on mute.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anthony Edwards Jr., and I'm the co-founder of Eat Okra. Eat Okra is a platform for people to find and spend money with Black-owned food businesses. And I'm super excited. I hail out of Brooklyn, New York, and I'm super excited to be a part of the Goodie Nation team and cohort, and just excited to meet you all and hear your stories.
Awesome. Kick it over to Mykolas.
Hello, my name is Mykolas Rambus, co-founder CEO of Hush, based out of Detroit. Briefly, we're a privacy service. There's far too much identity theft, financial crime, crypto theft, you name it, harassment. And so we help people protect their identities and become more private online.
Awesome.
Good to be here.
Awesome. So we got some dope brothers going to tell some dope stories. So I'm super excited. And I know you are as well, to get into how they came to be. So Josh, we're going to start with you. I mean, how'd you get here, good sir? What's that story?
Yeah, so for me, I kind of realized at a really young age that I was an entrepreneur. So I've been doing businesses since I was a kid. I was doing clothing lines in elementary school and selling stuff to classmates. I was cutting grass and shoveling snow and doing lawn services at 10, 12 years old. So I've always been an entrepreneur. As I was getting older, I got into the sneaker space. So I was a big sneaker collector. And at age 20, I opened a sneaker store in the Washington, D.C. area. So that was my first official business. I ran that business for a few years. Obviously, the recession in 2009 happened, and I started selling items online to kind of diversify my audience and have a little bit more, just to kind of broaden my streams of income, because the in-store retail wasn't doing as well at that time. So as I was selling items online, I kind of realized how profitable it was to have your products that you're selling available for the whole world to purchase. And that was kind of a touch point for me early on, that put me in the online reselling space. For the next decade or so, I worked in fashion. So I worked with a lot of rappers, athletes, as a stylist and image consultant. And I did that for some time. And throughout those years, I always was an online reseller. So I would find cool items at thrift stores or yard sales, garage sales, estate sales, that type of thing. And I would sell them online for profit, and I was making really good money. So I always was a reseller to kind of stabilize my income as I was doing these project by project styling kind of jobs. And a few years later, I ran into Thomas Rivas, who's our CEO here at Vendoo. And he had an idea to make a software for online resellers, because there's a lot of pain points in that process. So let's say you want to take an item like a t-shirt and sell it on eBay and Poshmark and Grailed. When you're listing an item on those platforms, they ask you the same information over and over again. They ask you for the title, the photos, the description, color, all those type of things. And we realized that it was really tedious to sell at large scale on all these different platforms at the same time. It's really time consuming. So we started putting together an idea on how to make a post one time on our site that puts it out on all these different marketplaces for you, and really saves a lot of time for that seller. So because I had a lot of reselling experience, I was really interested in the solutions that he was talking about, because they kind of personally affected my business. And I kind of felt like at that time, because I was a one-man team, I had hit a ceiling for how much I was capable of scaling that business on my own. So what we did was Thomas, myself, and our two other co-founders went out for about a year and a half and attended every reseller convention we could find. We started looking for different pockets of resellers all over the internet, whether it was Facebook groups or Reddit groups, and started attending conferences and just asking questions, picking people's brains, and tried to see exactly what the pain points were that they were experiencing and how we can build a product that could kind of alleviate some of those pain points for them. So that process began in about 2017. We did about a year and a half of like product research, trying to find product market fit and find our customer base. And once we did, we built up a waiting list of customers that had about 3,000 people on it. And we were promising them this product. So we were saying, we're working on this product. We don't have it ready yet, but we're going to get it out to you guys, because we know this is going to solve some of the problems that you guys are experiencing. So in that process, all of our founders being minorities, we didn't have as much access to capital to get this idea off the ground. So we started going around trying to secure like friends and family funding, talking to parents, relatives, things like that. And that process was really difficult, just because we don't all come from means or have a lot of disposable income to invest in this type of opportunity. So eventually, some of the relationships that I had garnered in the fashion space, like some of the artists I work with or people that I met through that journey, one of the guys was able to help us and secure some funding for us to get things off the ground in about 2019. So we were able to start hiring some product developers and building our product out. And between 2019 and 2020, we put out like a beta product for our users to try for free. And in that process, they were giving us a lot of feedback and helping us kind of fine tune the product before we started charging and before we launched it. And that brings us to January of 2020, where we were able to launch our product. So we've been now active for about 2.5 years. Our team is growing. From our 4 original founders, we now have a remote team of 35 people, and our user base is growing as well. We have about 75,000 registered users, 10,000 monthly active, and about 20,000 weekly active or so. So we're doing really well at this point, and the process is just a gradual build. It's always receiving feedback from customers and trying to figure out how to improve and iterate on those ideas and keep pushing the space forward. But that's pretty much the story of Vendoo in a nutshell.
Dope, man. I mean, as we kind of do more of these episodes, it's obvious the people, the kids who are entrepreneurs, who are again doing stuff, whether it's selling stuff on the side of the road or whatever it is, right? You all are the grown-up version of these folks, man. So I love hearing that joint. How can people get in contact with you if they want to do business with you all?
Definitely. So you can reach me directly, josh@vendoo.co. Our Instagram account is vendoo.co, and that's our website as well. So if you go to our website, you'll see links to all of our resources. You can contact us there as well and see everything that we're working on.
Awesome. Good stuff. Want to kick it over now to AJ, man. How'd you get here, man? What's that story?
So my story starts, as far as software is concerned, I spent probably the better part of 2 decades building software. So I worked at places like the CDC. We built a tool that tracks outbreaks, foodborne outbreaks around the world. Worked at Delta Airlines and Department of Transportation. So I built a lot of software, but I had a parallel life. So at night, I was doing event promotions, working in entertainment with radio and TV personalities. So about a decade ago, I left corporate America. So that was around 2012. And I decided to start my own marketing agency. And a lot of stuff was totally coincidental, but we'll get into that. So started working with people who are now called influencers, but back then that wasn't a word. And so I took a training on writing a book, and just total coincidence, the first book that I wrote was called Instagram Marketing on Fire. And as fate would have it, I launched that book and Facebook bought Instagram or somewhere around the same time, right? I ended up selling thousands and thousands of copies of that book. And as a matter of fact, it was just the ebook version at the time. So I very quickly, being a process-driven person, I sort of followed the same process, but I replaced myself and I hired a ghostwriter. So then I quickly published 2 more books: Instagram Marketing for Restaurants, Instagram Marketing for Beauty salons and hair salon or barbershops. So I was selling all these books, and some of my peers said, "Dude, how are you writing and selling all these books so fast?" So the process that I followed, I actually documented it and gave it to a friend. They followed the process to try to write a book, but there were some steps missing. So I wrote a book called Stop Bullshitting and Write Your Book. Stop BSing and Write Your Book. Then I started doing workshops. And I happen to be now on a show called The Willie Moore Jr. Show. So I started doing workshops in different cities, helping people write and publish books. And as we all know, the pandemic came along in 2020, and that changed everything because I could no longer travel and do these workshops. So now I'm at home, and I've started a real publishing company. And today we've published over 250 people. But here's what's interesting. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. And one of my dear friends, her name is Kim Ford. I had convinced her to write a book because she's doing a lot of good work in the city. And I told her that I would have my team do it. Well, the timing was horrible. COVID was going on. So my editors got COVID. And then I got COVID, and there was a lot of gaps in the process. So I had to try to hire people. It was just a mess, right? So one night, it's never good when you get a call from a customer on a Friday night. So I got a text message from Kim, and she called me and let me know that all the balls were being dropped on her book left and right. And she had a launch date that was coming up in like 4 days. So did everything that I could to try and fix it, but I wasn't involved in the process. So after that call, I literally, in the same office that I'm sitting in now, I mapped out, or I asked myself, what would it look like if I built software to manage the process of writing a book, right? So I started mapping things out because, again, that's what I did for a living a couple years prior, or 10 years prior. And I mapped out the process, but I asked myself a question before I started building. And I said, if I build this, what are the other use cases that we can incorporate into the software? So I started just brainstorming cookbooks, grants, white papers, dissertations. So I had all these different ideas to build one platform that would serve all these different use cases. So I built it, right? And fortunately, I had been working in the space for a while. So all the writers that I'd worked with, I put them in a Facebook group and I started mapping it out, and I still have the PDF. So I sent them pictures of my wall and I said, hey guys, if I built this, would you guys use something like this to write your book? So I was able to get early feedback, right? So I built it, and I went through the thing where I tried to hire someone from Upwork. They were in India, and I probably spent 12 grand with them, and they disappeared on me, like literally disappeared, right? Couldn't get any money back. I think that Upwork refunded me like one payment of something like $400 or something like that. But anyway, so I found another team and we built it. And in a very ugly early alpha version, I had just the software, the ability to organize and structure your chapters, and the ability to speak your book into the software, because we speak at a clip of about 175 to 225 words a minute. And when I train people in person, I would record their stories on my phone and I would send it to a site called rev.com. And their story that I helped them structure became their chapters, right? So I duplicated that process in my software. But then I started thinking, what are some of the other problems that people have when they're writing books? So the biggest problem is writer's block and accountability, but that's something software can't solve. But so I started thinking, what if I integrated artificial intelligence using, a tool that's already out there, OpenAI or GPT-3, the technology, to help them come up with the first draft of their content. So we built that, right? And I was able, fortunately, to launch that in my group, and I got my first set of paying customers. So I knew it was I knew it was a thing that people would pay for, right? And I had that sort of thing that all entrepreneurs do. I didn't want to launch it out to the world until it had this benefit or that benefit. But once they paid me for it, even though when I look at it now, it was horrible compared to what we have now, people were paying for it. And not only were they paying for it, they were inviting other people to it. So we continued to develop it and roll it out. And then a couple of my authors were also professors. And they said, AJ, you know what? I'm actually using this for my dissertation. And I, just had a call with her. She's over at Morehouse. And she showed me how she was using it. So instead of creating chapters, she was naming her chapters after different sections in her dissertation. And we built in collaboration, because one of the problems that we had with our authors is that you store your file on a Dropbox. So your editor has to log in and make changes, and then you ping pong back and forth. Well, we built collaboration into the tool because, again, it's one source of truth, right? Yes, Google does have collaboration, but the templates don't work well in Google, right? So I sort of took the best of both worlds. Then I layered in voice to text, I layered in collaboration, I layered in artificial intelligence for content creation. And with the feedback from my professors, I built a academic article template, right? Again, I was thinking dissertations, but what I realized is that there's this mantra that happens for professors that have to publish. It's called publish or perish, where they have to publish so much research every year to maintain their tenure, right? So I took on that use case first because there was a bigger opportunity there. But now, we have 3 universities in pilot. We just started Kennesaw State. We have University of South Florida. We have Concordia University, and they're in a sort of self-selected pilot. And now, since posting that on social media, I probably have 27 or 28 universities in the pipeline, right? So we're seeing, people organically grow the author side while I focus my attention on the university use cases. And we're also talking to 3 schools. And one high school, they want all of their seniors when they graduate to have a published book, right? So that's a huge use case because they can use the platform the way that it is. So I've hired 2 teachers to create the curriculum, and I just got that back yesterday. So we're going to be going into schools. I'll let the people who are educators handle the school use cases. But yeah, so we built a tool that just makes it easy to publish whatever it is. And here's another sort of breaking thing. This happened Friday. I had my first inbound enterprise client reach out to me. And I was so excited. I was driving, pulled over to a coffee shop, asked her to jump on a Zoom call. She told me how she found out about me on LinkedIn. So yes, exciting things going on. But our platform was born out of solving a problem that I was frustrated with, and I saw the frustration in my users. So yeah, that's how I got here.
Dope. One shout out to Kim Ford, and I love the journey, the key learnings along the way, man. I mean, awesome. And I know we talked before. I definitely gotta jump on this as soon as possible and get something out there for me. But how can, if anybody wants to publish a book, whether you're individual, whether you're more important, seem like if you're at a college, university, or anything like that, how can they get in contact with you?
Yes, so me directly, I'm AJ Joyner on Instagram. I think that's the best way to contact me directly. But if you want to find out more about Blooksy, you just go to blooksy.com. And there's two opportunities. You can go in the creative side for books and things like that, or you can go in the academia side for academic articles and literature reviews.
There it is. Good stuff. So now I want to stay in Atlanta. I want to kick it over to Toby. Toby, what's your story, good sir?
Yeah, what's up, y'all? My name is Toby Egbuna. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Chezie. I'm calling out of Atlanta. Our backstory. It goes back to birth, actually. So my sister, Dzime-Assison, and I, we actually launched Chezie together in June 2020. We're first-gen Nigerian immigrants. We are of the Igbo tribe. So Chezie is actually the Igbo word for reflect. We started our company together in June 2020. Our initial idea actually was to build basically a glass door, but for minorities. So we kind of kick off with that. I had been working at a consulting company at the time. I'd been there maybe 2 or 3 years. And for anyone that knows consulting, that's just generally like the expiration time where you're kind of figuring out, okay, do I want to try to go to make manager, or do I want to maybe bounce and go somewhere else? So I had started to get into diversity and inclusion work, doing some recruiting work at my alma mater, UNC. And I figured I wanted to like maybe take a career jump there and see if I can get a career or an opportunity in that industry. So I found a job at Lyft that looks like a good spot. It was in New York. I didn't know anyone in my network that worked at Lyft. My whole idea was, let me try to figure out what it's like to be Black at this company. So I found this guy on LinkedIn. He and I hopped on the call. You know, he was very transparent, like, it's good in these ways, it's not that good in these ways, etc. And then after that, I hopped on the phone with my sister, Dzime-Assison, who had just started her job at a pretty big tech company as well. And we just kind of rapped about how, you know, there's not really a way for you to know what it's like to be Black, or a Black man, or a Black woman, or, you know, the Latino immigrant, or whatever else at a company. And that was kind of like the light bulb moment for us, because we were just like, you know, this should exist. This is something like Glassdoor works, but not for people that look like me or like my sister, or, you know, for anyone on the call. So we launched initially. We had a different name. We were actually operating under the name Diversify at that time. And we ran with the Glassdoor for Minorities idea for about 1.5 years. We had some success with it. We won a grant from How I Built This from NPR. We had a little bit of money coming in from recruiting as our business model. We had maybe like 1,500 users signed up, but it was just a really hard business model to execute on. Like, it's the, you know, you face that chicken and the egg problem as a marketplace. And we basically just decided to scrap it and figure out another way that we can help companies create inclusive workplaces and workplaces that we ourselves would want to work in. So then we went back again to our times at my consulting company, her tech company, just kind of thinking about what our experiences were like. And we thought about ERGs. So I was in consulting. I did a lot of consulting for Fortune 500 on their inclusion strategy my last 2 years at the firm. And then my sister actually led her Black ERG for her company out of Chicago. So, you know, we were very aware of how mismanaged and disjointed ERGs are, but we also just realized that they have a lot of potential, right? ERGs can be these inclusive communities for, you know, happy hours and social opportunities and professional development. They can also be business resources. That's really what we're centering our company on. The idea that an ERG can and should be used to, you know, create or review marketing content, or to support your sales team by, you know, putting in additional sales referrals, or reviewing product features before they are published to the public or anything like that. So few companies are actually using their ERGs that way, and it's a wasted opportunity, because at that point, you have these internal communities that could actually help you with the bottom line. So that's been our goal with our company. We pivoted into the ERG space and launched the version 1 of our software, actually built in Bubble, a no-code platform, in October last year. We signed our first company, Chegg, in December. We've signed a handful. We've signed 8 companies since, so we're just over. On Friday we crossed 100K ARR for our first year, and now we're fundraising. So the Google for Black Founders grant was huge for us. It was at this point, it's figuring out ways to keep the lights on until we can close our seed round. And we're just really excited for where we're going to have this opportunity to work with Google and Joey and the Goodie Nation team. So.
Nah, dope. So I'd actually had always wondered what Chezie meant, and so thanks for that.
Oh, you didn't know that, Joey?
Nah.
Oh, so see, I guess we got to do a better job advertising it.
I'm not that smart of a guy. That's on me though. That's on me. That's good stuff. So okay, so if you're in a ERG at a company, you're leading the ERG, or you're in HR, future workplace, whatever, how can people get in contact?
Yeah, you can contact me at toby@chezie.co, not .com.co. So working on getting that full domain name. Our website is chezie.co. You can book a demo. But yeah, we work with ERG leaders, diversity and inclusion managers, chief people officers, starting to branch out into product officers, operating officers, things like that. So if you're interested in bolstering your ERGs and making them a core business resource, hit me up.
There it is. Cool. Let's go up to NYC and want to hear from Anthony from Okra. I mean, Anthony, what's your story, good sir?
Yeah, my wife would say, do this and throw up the bookie down Bronx and call that out. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. My name is Anthony Edwards Jr., co-founder of Okra. So I'd start by saying I'm also a software developer. So I started Okra in 2016 as a sole developer and really built it for 4 years. But to take it back to like the prequel, the origin, I guess would start when I was a child. I was always into like hacking away at tech, whatever that meant back in those days. Really, it started with this robotics kit called Lego Mindstorm, and I would really hack away at it, build these Legos and all these sensors and motors, and it's really in awe about those things. Is everything okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, cool. And yeah, it really was like the kick point into my like this tech career. I would use Adobe Dreamweaver, if anybody remembers that back in the day. I would figure out how to make websites with that. But with that, I ended up joining the military, and I went to I was an aviation maintenance repairer. I went to Iraq for 18 months. I was in Korea for 2 years, and went to Fort Benning and spent some time in Savannah, Georgia. After the military honorary discharge, I went to Fordham University and got my degree in computer science. So I was still on this path of like wanting to be an engineer, wanting to be like build robots, but I was also a dancer at the time too. So I was a hip hop dancer, and I wanted to go to a school that would allow me to take classes. So I ended up taking to Fordham and got into computer science, not engineering, but computer science. Couldn't do both after a little while. School started kicking my butt. Math was kicking my butt. So having been out of it for six years and so some change, I had to really buckle down and focus on my studies. So I ended up getting my my CS degree in computer science, and then about 6 months later, I got my first job as a junior full stack engineer at a company called Building Block, where I would stay for about 7-8 years, which is ancient in software world. Usually you're jumping every 2 years or so. But I stayed with them, and during that time I met my wife, Janique, where we actually met on an app called, oh my gosh, starts with a T. It's not.
You're gonna be in trouble, good sir. I already know it's coming.
Oh my gosh, what's the app with the T? The dating app.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Okay, we met on the Ding app. What did I say?
I said Tinder. Was that it?
Tinder. There we go. Tinder. We met on Tinder, and sparks flow, and we started dating. And shortly after that, Janique was like, why don't you build an app for us to find and support some Black-owned restaurants here in Brooklyn, which was our new home. We moved in together, And that kind of just started me on this path of, wanting to build something to get to the next job. So Eat Okra was really just a passion project. I used it to get the next job. But what actually happened was, I built it over 6 months as the MVP. We put it out into the world, and immediately people started sharing it to their friends and colleagues and sororities. And we instantly just started getting more people on the platform. So in the first year, we had about 300 downloads. And then the second year was like 3,000, 12,000. But it became like we were really intentional about supporting Black businesses. And, it just started catching on in June of 2020, June of 2020, like same timeline as George Floyd passing, we had about 150,000 people download the app in a single year. In a single month, which was a lot for me. It was great and a lot because it exposed some like code I'd written 4 years prior, since 2016, and to get my act together a little bit on the tech side. But it was a blessing to see that kind of momentum really carry us to where we are now, which is about 500,000 people have downloaded the app. About 10,000 monthly active users as well. And during COVID, we were in New York City alone. We've been able to drive about $500,000 in sales towards Black-owned food and beverage businesses. So super excited about that. And in this next iteration, Eat Okra is working on online ordering, so allowing people to order food on the platform. And as as our mission of ultimately putting butts in the seats of these restaurants and or having another way for them to receive money. We're working on, in the back end of the house or back of the house, we're working on really empowering restaurants by giving them access to education, mentorship, and grants and loans and other softwares and things like that are in like these wraparound services and provide savings that way as well. So thanks again.
Dope. So one, you're definitely gonna get in trouble by forgetting that the app when it comes to how do we move. Two, thank you for your service to the country. Three, interesting shout out for Adobe Dreamweaver. I totally forgot about that. That was my go-to for years. Yeah. Man, totally forgot about Dreamweaver. But cool, man. Good stuff. So how can people get in contact with you? I mean, if they want to either download the app or use it, or if they're a restaurant or anything like that.
Yeah, if you go to your app store, any app store, and just type in Eat Okra, one word, or www.eatokra.com. There's a bunch of action items to click on that to get back to us. And then my email is anthony@eatokra.com.
There it is. So next up, certainly not or last but not least, let's kick it over to D and Mykolas. What's your story, sir?
Thanks. So good to be here. So gosh, like so many others, I started back in middle school selling video games out of my backpack, right? Renting video games out of my backpack. So it goes way back when, no surprise. I then did computer parts and repair in high school. That was my first company, incorporated it in Michigan, and learned the good and the bad about having a small business. And then after college, had the opportunity with four of my friends to found a new company. And so we did that. So in many ways, I've been an entrepreneur my entire career. I've gone back and forth between big company. But Hush was number 3, right, for me as an adult. So the same team that built WealthX, which is this database of information on wealthy people that we had sold in 2014, got together and said, hey, what do we miss? There's got to be a better opportunity here. And also, we're in the business of finding information about families and about individuals, right? So think about a Bloomberg for private bankers, where there's all the information you ever wanted to know about a wealthy family, right? We had built that into a scalable database and sold that to every private bank, luxury brand, and nonprofit fundraiser around the world. And so along the way, we sort of said, look, it's crazy that there's this much information out there about individuals, their families, where their kids go to school, their mobile number and the rest. There's got to be something there, right? And so basically, after a few evening sessions and Zoom over COVID, we said, look, let's dig into this. Let's see if we can try to solve this problem where we give people back control over their information online. So have you ever Googled yourself and said, hey, how is my home address out there, my phone number, my family's listings, and the rest? Can we actually do something about that, right, in a scalable, really easy way? And so we started doing R&D about a year ago to figure this out for this new company, which was called Privacy Check at first, right? The idea is, how private am I? Can I figure it out? And can I do it easily? So we spent the better part of a summer doing R&D. A lot of the folks who were at WealthX, people have said we kind of did the Catch Me If You Can. If you ever watched that movie with DiCaprio where he switches sides, we're kind of doing the same thing, right? So we've been on the Intel side on behalf of businesses. Now we're doing it for individuals. And early on, we're fortunate to partner up with a local venture capital group that liked the idea, liked where we were going. That allowed us to spend some time and some money figuring out the R&D. It's all AI driven, right? So build that up the right way, and eventually get to a place where we could launch. And so we launched our minimum viable product in October of last year. So almost about a year now, and then launched our release 1 in March. And so far, we've been fortunate. We've had solid customers. We've had solid interest. You talk to anybody about privacy. I mean, thank you, Apple, for putting billboards out there that say, be aware of your privacy, or, privacy by design. This conversation's happening. And so it's been really good for us to have that happen. Obviously, we're excited to be partnering with Google through this endeavor. But that's the story of Hush kind of in the recent times, but also, how I get started. I can't imagine not being an entrepreneur. There's this saying that once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. And that's so true with me. I think the hardest thing, however, for anyone listening, is making the decision to do it in the first place. Once you take that first step, everything else comes. You will figure it out. So that's how I began way back when.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. I love it. And then I love the Catch Me If You Can reference as well, because I was gonna bring that up. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so people want to do business with you or learn more about the platform. I mean, how do they get in contact?
Sure. So gohush.com is our website. We're still working up to buyhush.com. It's $1 million domain. We'll get there one day. But for now, it's gohush.com, or hit me on LinkedIn or social media.
There it is. Cool. I love it. I love it. So listen, y'all, I told you, expect a treat. You got a treat. Awesome stories. Once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur. You heard from the founder's probably going to get in trouble with his wife. Just all kind of just awesome stuff, right? Again, a lot of child prodigies now turn dope adult founders. It's just an awesome series. And so I hope that you saw a little bit of yourself in them, right? I'm sure you could. There's a bunch of people out there watching right now. Oh, I used to do something similar as a kid. I used to be writing code as a kid or something like that. You could see a little bit of yourself in them, right? So I got one ask for you: support. Support is a verb. Dr. Key Hallman here in Atlanta for Village Market says it all the time. There's a few ways you can support, right? You can become a customer or a user. You can B, provide capital to them. C, you can help to amplify their story. Either you're a journalist, a storyteller, or you can simply hit share on social media. If you can't do that, even though I feel confident you can in one way, shape, or form, especially on the privacy front, I'm sure there's someone in your network that can. So my ask is to spend about 30 minutes to an hour figuring out if you can support one of these entrepreneurs, or someone in your network can, right? If you can do that for 6 straight months and then get your network to do it, you go from just thoughts to actions to behavior to establishing a culture of supporting diverse founders and social entrepreneurs. And that's how we close the relationship gap, right? That's how we close it. At Goodie Nation, that's what we call being intentionally good, right? Being intentionally good. Now, they gave you their contact information. So, whether it's email or social media or their website, please reach out to them and support in one of those ways. In addition, you can go to the link at the bottom of the page of the screen right here just to see more information about them. You can click on their card and find out, LinkedIn profiles, and also get a warm introduction link. You can also see more information about the rest of their cohort mates for Google for Startup Black Founders Fund 3, as well as all of the other Black Founders Fund recipients for Fund 1 and 2, right? So multiple ways to get in contact with these founders, multiple ways to support. So let's all be intentionally good. So once again, I'm Joey Womack, founder, CEO of Goodie Nation, checking in with another dope episode of Prequel Origin Stories and Inflection Points, featuring the recent recipients of Google for Startups Black Founders Fund 3. It's been an honor and a privilege to be with these founders today. So go out there, y'all. 1, outwork yesterday, and 2, stay magnetic.